Hello everyone, welcome back to Life with Technologies YouTube channel, and thank you so much for watching this episode and supporting this channel. So you know that in our last episode we demonstrated how to configure and troubleshoot BGP. As we continue to demonstrate how to implement service configuration and HoVPN architecture on Huawei routing devices. So in this episode, we focus on how to implement HoVPN on Huawei routing devices. So we know that HoVPN, this is a very common architecture that is applied on service provider network, the large service provider network that is, and it only advertises a default route to the UPs or the CSGs. So from this topology, we have the SPs, and the SPs are connecting to the UPs, which are connecting to the BTS or the radio side. So instead of advertising all the routes to the UPs, which may not have the capacity to handle the routes, we only advertise a default route from the SPE to the UPs. So the UPs knows that if I have to access any other network that I don't have, then I will use the default route that I've received from the SPE. So for the route advertisement, of course, we have established BGP session with the two SPEs. So we will be getting one route, one default route from SPE01 and another default route from SPE02. And then the UP will select one route based on the BGP path attributes. So at the end of the day, it only installs one of the default route, not all of them. Remember, it has to compare the path attributes of BGP, and then it will settle on one, and that one is the one that will be installed in the VPN routing table of that particular VPN instance. So this is what we are implementing in this session. Remember that we've already configured BGP. If we display the BGP sessions, display BGP VPN v4 all peer, you can see that we have BGP peering sessions, 2 to the UPs and 2 to the NPs. On SPE2, we can also confirm that if we check the BGP VPN v4 all peers, we have 4 peering sessions, 2 sessions to the UPs and 2 sessions to the NPs. So once we have the BGP sessions up, remember the default route will be advertised through BGP. So we need to do the BGP configurations to ensure that we can get a default route on the UPs. If you check the UPs currently, if I log into this UP and I display IP routing table, VPN instance to GVPN, you will see that we don't have any default route in this VPN. If you check in any other 3G VPN, no route has been received on the UPs. So we need to go ahead and do the implementation so that we can have the default route advertised from the SPEs towards the UPEs. And then the UPE should be able to know how it can access the other networks that are not connected to it. So the first thing that we need to do, we are configuring some loopbacks on the NPE so that we can simulate some networks on the NPEs for the different VPN instances. So you can see that we are creating five loopbacks: loopback 10 for 2G, loopback 20 for 3G, loopback 30 for 4G, 40 for 5G, and 50 for O&M. And once we've created these loopbacks, we import them into BGP for the relevant or the respective VPN instances. So once we've done this, we can verify that we have some routes on the SPEs, and these routes will not be advertised to the UPEs. So this is the first part. Let me log into the NPE. So for NP1 and NP2, we do similar configurations. These are just simulating service loopbacks. So I'll copy this, log into NP1. So NP1, I'll paste. And I'll do the same for NP2. So we've configured the service loopbacks. Now, if I do display IPVPN instance interface, you can see that we have the loopback interfaces in different VRFs. or different VPN instances. If I do display IP routing table, VPN instance to GVPN, you expect that you have the loopback interface under that VRF. If I check for 5G VPN, I also have one loopback interface that is pointing to, that is in the 2G, or I mean the 5G VPN. Another command that we can use, we can check the VPN v4 routing table. So display BGP VPN v4 all routing table on the SPs and the NPs. Starting with the NPs, if I display BGP VPN v4 all routing table, you can see that we have these loopbacks. We've learned them and they are in the respective VPN instances. On NP2, we expect the same. Display BGP VPN v4 all routing table. You can see that we have the routes. The loopback IPs have been imported into the respective VPN instances. Another command that you can run, you can display IP routing table. This one we've already demonstrated. And then you can check the advertised routes or the received routes on the SPs. So if you run display BGP VPN v4 all routing table and then you specify the peer 1.1.1.1 received routes, you will see the route that have been advertised from this peer IP. You can also check the advertised route. So this one you can run on the SPE and the NPs to just be able to see which routes have been received and which routes have been advertised between the nodes. So on the SPE, we can check if I display BGP VPN v4 all routing table peer, I specify the peer 1.1.1. You can use the question mark. You can see the received routes. So you have these received routes. The 5 loopback that we've configured are now advertised to the SPEs from the NPE. From the NPE, you can display BGP VPN v4 all routing table. Then you specify the peer, for example 1.1.2. and then advertised routes. These routes have been advertised to the peer RSG. I can check on the SPE which routes have been advertised to the SPE, and you can see that we are able to see these routes on the SPEs. If I display on a given VPN instance, display IP routing table, VPN instance to GVPN, you can see that we have this route. It has been learned on this SPE. So the next step, we can have some default route. Remember, the SPE doesn't have any other exit to access the controller side. So we configure default static route on the SPE. For any traffic that it doesn't know, it has to send it to the RSG. So we copy this and then we paste on the SPE1 and SPE2. Starting with SPE1, we have the default routes, and then on SPE2 we can also have the default route that should be used for any unknown destinations. So if I display IP routing table, VPN instance to GVPN, I expect that I should have a default static route, and I should have to 10.10.10 which has been advertised from the SPE. So I've mentioned that if I display IP or if I display BGP VPN v4 all routing table and I do 10.10.10.10 verbose, let me see, 10.10.10.10, you can see that we are learning 2 routes. One is coming from NP01, another one is coming from NP02, and the BGP path attributes will be used to select the optimal path or the best path, the best BGP path. So you can see that this one is not preferred for IGP cost. This one has been preferred because it has a lower cost So the IGP cost is 10, this one is 20, so the other one will be preferred. So the same will apply when the SPEs are advertising routes, the default route to the UPEs. So if you check the UPEs again, you realize that we still don't have any routes. So we need to go ahead and now do the configurations for the advertising of the default route from the SPE towards the UPEs. So under the BGP configuration, first you need to specify that this is a UPE. So you can see that we have two UPEs, 1.1.1.5, which is UP1, and 1.1.1.6, which is UP2. And again, this is how you advertise the default route through the different VPN that we have. So you need to specify the peer, default route originate, and specify the VPN instance. Once you've done this, you expect that we'll be getting the default route on the UPEs. So let's complete the configurations. So these are the BGP configurations that we need to apply on the SPE. I'll copy. Starting with SPE1, I paste. So now you can see that from here, we should expect to get a default route. After some time, we expect to get a default route for the different VRFs. It will take some time. Remember, we have only configured on SP1. Let me check on 2G VPN. We still don't get it, but we'll get it. Can check on SPE2 also. Display BGP VPN v4 all peer. Display IP routing table, VPN instance to GVPN. Still not coming. Let's wait for some time. On SP1, still not yet. Let's verify the configurations. The route already exists. Oh, I need to copy the correct configurations. I did not copy the correct configurations. I need to copy. Once I've copied, I'll go back to SP1 and paste. So when we go to UP1 and display, we expect now that we should start getting the default route. Let's confirm on UP2. Still not yet. Can again go back to SP1, display this. You see that the UPE command has taken effect and we have the originate default route configurations. So we give it some time and now you can see that we have a default route has come in, or when you check on UP1, we also have a default route that has come in. If I display BGP VPN v4 all routing table 0.0.0.0, you see that we have a default route per instance. So we have one for O&M, we have one for 5G VPN, we also have one for 4G VPN. Remember, we are yet to configure SPE2, but once we configure SPE2, this router should be able to get two default route for every VPN instance, and it will use the BGP path attributes to select the best path. So you can see that these one, they are all pointing to 1.1.1.3. But when we run on SPE2, we expect that routes on UPE2 should be pointing to 1.1.1.4, which is the closest SPE. So let me copy this again, go back to SPE2 and paste. So when I paste on that, I rerun the same command. It will take some time for it to select the next hop to be 1.1.1.4. So it will take some time, but eventually it will switch to 1.1.4 because that is the closest one. So we are just waiting for the updates. Now you can see that it has switched and it has now picked 1.1.1.4. So it has learned two default routes, one from 1.1.1.4 and another one from 1.1.1.3. It has preferred this one because of lower cost, lower IGP cost. So that will be the dry breaker for the selecting of the optimal path in BGP. So this is how simple it is. We have already verified the routing table. On the UPE, you can run the same command and you should be able to see that we have the default route for the different VPN instances that we have configured on the router. You can see here clearly that we have one from SG1, another one from SG2 or SP1 and SP2. So this is how simple it is to configure HoVPN. You just need to ensure that you have the UPE. So we are specifying the UPE on the SPs. We are telling it that this peer, this is a UPE. Also for 1.1.1.6, this is a UPE. And then we are configuring these commands to ensure that we have a default route that will be originated from the SPE towards the UPE. And that is it for the HoVPN configuration. So in the next session, we will be now starting to configure services on the UPE and the BTS, and then we'll complete by configuring services on the VPC side for the controller side, and then we can do final service tests. So thank you again for watching. Just a kind reminder that try to find that subscribe button, and also you can connect, you can comment, you can like, you can share, and thank you for your support, guys. Thank you and see you in the next episode. Bye.